Martin adjusted his cufflinks as he glanced in the mirror, making sure his appearance was impeccable before the evening dinner meeting. The penthouse was unusually quiet, save for the soft humming of the maid as she moved about the kitchen. Rosa had been with him for years, almost like a quiet guardian of the home after his first wife's passing. She adored Lily, his 6-year-old daughter, and cared for her with the devotion of a grandmother. But today, things felt different. The silence seemed heavier, almost strained, as if the walls themselves knew the new presence in the house was changing everything. Clarissa, his new wife of 3 months, descended the spiral staircase with deliberate grace, every step echoing through the marble hall. She was a vision, glossy chestnut hair cascading down her shoulders, designer dress fitted perfectly, and diamond earrings that sparkled under the chandelier. To any outsider, she was the very picture of sophistication, the kind of woman people would envy Martin for marrying. But Rosa, watching quietly from the kitchen doorway, saw what most people missed, the way Clarissa's lips curled slightly in annoyance whenever Lily's laughter echoed through the house, or the dismissive way she handled the child's attempts at affection. "Darling," Clarissa purred, wrapping her manicured hands around Martin's arm, "are we still on for the gala Friday? I'll need to finalize my gown fitting tomorrow." Martin smiled, distracted, as he adjusted his tie. "Of course. We'll make an entrance." He leaned in and kissed her cheek before glancing toward the stairs. "Where's Lily? She's been awfully quiet." Clarissa's smile stiffened for a fraction of a second before returning to its polished glow. "Probably in her room with those dreadful dolls. I told her not to scatter them all over the living room again. Honestly, Martin, she's 6, it's time she learned how to keep things tidy." Rosa's hands froze mid-wipe on the counter. She caught Lily's small figure emerging from the hallway, her arms wrapped tightly around a worn stuffed bunny. The little girl's eyes lit up when she saw her father, and she ran toward him with a squeal of delight. "Daddy." Martin bent down, scooping her up effortlessly. "There's my princess. How was school today?" Lily began chattering about art class and how she had painted a picture of their family, her, Daddy, and Mommy in the sky. The words slipped out innocently, her way of remembering her late mother. Clarissa's face stiffened again, and she turned away, pretending to adjust a vase on the table. Martin's eyes softened as he listened, but when he tried to include Clarissa in the conversation, she gave a forced smile. "That's nice, Lily. But don't you think Daddy and I should have been in your picture instead? We are your family now." The child's smile faltered, and she clutched her bunny tighter. Rosa noticed, her chest tightening at the subtle cruelty. Later that evening, as Martin prepared to leave for his dinner meeting, he paused by the doorway. "Clarissa, could you do me a favor tomorrow? I'll be tied up in back-to-back meetings. Could you pick Lily up from school at 2? Rosa's already swamped with preparing for Friday's event. Clarissa's painted lips parted in protest, but she quickly masked it with another dazzling smile. "Of course, darling, anything for you." Rosa's eyes flicked toward her. The maid knew that tone, it wasn't commitment, it was performance. After Martin left, Lily sat on the floor drawing pictures with crayons. Clarissa scrolled on her phone, barely glancing at her. "Go get ready for bed, Lily," she said, her voice clipped. "Daddy isn't here to spoil you tonight." The child hesitated, eyes darting toward Rosa for reassurance. Rosa gave her a warm nod, guiding her gently upstairs. As the little girl disappeared, Rosa glanced back at Clarissa, who was now examining her nails as though the very presence of a child in her evening was a nuisance. It was then that Rosa's unease deepened. She sensed that Martin's blind trust in Clarissa was going to cost someone dearly, and she prayed it wouldn't be the child. The next afternoon, the sun glared hot against the city pavement, heat waves shimmering in the distance as Clarissa steered her sleek black SUV into the school pickup lane. The other parents stood in modest sundresses and slacks, chatting idly as they waited for their children, but Clarissa made sure to keep her oversized sunglasses perched firmly on her nose, her diamond bracelet catching the light as if it were a deliberate announcement of her status. She tapped her manicured nails against the steering wheel impatiently. Picking up Lily was a task she believed belonged to nannies, not women of her standing. When Lily came bounding out of the school doors, her backpack bouncing on her shoulders, her face lit up at the sight of the car. She opened the back door, climbing in with her stuffed bunny clutched close. "Hi, Clarissa," she chirped, her small voice filled with hope. Clarissa forced a thin smile through the rearview mirror. "Hello, Lily, buckle up." The child did as she was told, humming to herself while pulling out a crayon drawing she had made in class. "I drew us again," she said proudly, holding it up. "This is Daddy, this is me, and this is you." Clarissa's jaw tightened. On the paper, the figures were childlike and crooked, but Clarissa's form stood a little apart from the others. A detail so small, yet it irritated her. "That's charming," she replied, tossing the drawing onto the passenger seat without another glance. Lily's smile faded, but she said nothing. She hugged her bunny and gazed out the window instead. As they drove through the bustling streets, Clarissa's phone buzzed. A message popped up from her friend Vanessa, "Lunch at La Belle. The girls are already here." Clarissa's lips curved into a sly smile. She hadn't planned to spend her afternoon with Lily, but she told herself it was just lunch. An hour at most. Lily could sit quietly in the car, and no one would ever know. She parked in the shaded corner of the luxury shopping district and turned to the back seat. "Lily, darling, I need to run in quickly to meet my friends. You stay here and be a good girl. I'll only be a few minutes." Lily's eyes widened. "Can't I come with you?" she asked timidly. "No, sweetie, it's not a place for children. Just sit tight, you'll be fine." Clarissa's tone left no room for argument. Lily nodded reluctantly, her small fingers tracing the ear of her stuffed bunny. Clarissa slipped out of the car, her heels clicking confidently on the pavement as she disappeared into the glittering restaurant. Inside, laughter and the clinking of glasses welcomed her as Vanessa and two other women greeted her with hugs. "Clarissa, over here, darling, we ordered champagne already." Hours passed as the women gossiped, laughed, and shopped through boutiques afterward, their arms filling with glossy bags. Clarissa reveled in the attention, basking in their envy over her perfect marriage and her husband's wealth. Time slipped away unnoticed, her phone buzzing with reminders she ignored. Meanwhile, in the car, Lily's humming grew faint as the heat built up inside the sealed vehicle. Sweat dampened her hairline, her little hands clutching the bunny tighter as her eyes grew heavy. She tried to fan herself with a piece of paper, but the air was suffocating. She called out once for Clarissa, then again for her father, her small voice swallowed by the hum of traffic outside. Back at the mansion, Rosa glanced at the clock. It was nearly 4. Lily should have been home almost 2 hours ago. Her chest tightened as she wiped her damp hands on her apron. Clarissa had promised to pick her up, but Rosa knew the woman's promises were as fragile as glass. She moved toward the window, scanning the driveway. Empty. When Clarissa finally returned, the sun was beginning to dip. She stepped inside laden with shopping bags, her cheeks flushed from champagne. Rosa's heart leapt, her eyes darting behind her for the small figure she longed to see. But there was no Lily. "Senora Clarissa," Rosa asked carefully, "where is Miss Lily?" Clarissa froze for the briefest second before waving a dismissive hand. "She's in the car. She fell asleep, and I didn't want to wake her." "Don't fuss, she's fine." Rosa's stomach turned cold. "In the car, it is still hot outside." "Oh, Rosa, don't be dramatic," Clarissa cut her off, setting her bags down with a sigh. "I'll bring her in when she wakes up. Honestly, the way you people worry over nothing." But Rosa's hands had already begun to tremble. Something in her gut screamed at her that this was not nothing. Without another word, she hurried past Clarissa, her apron flaring behind her as she pushed open the front door, racing toward the driveway. The heat hit her instantly, oppressive and suffocating, as she approached the SUV. And there, through the tinted glass, she saw Lily's small form slumped against the seat, her bunny sliding from her grip. Rosa gasped, her heart lurching as she realized the child wasn't just sleeping, she wasn't moving at all. Rosa's breath caught in her throat as she pressed her face to the hot glass. Lily's cheeks were flushed red, strands of damp hair clinging to her forehead. Her small lips parted slightly, but no sound came. The sight struck Rosa like a knife to the heart. She tugged at the door handle, locked. Panic flared in her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Lily," she cried, banging on the glass. "Nina, wake up, it's Rosa." There was no response. The child's head lolled weakly against the car seat. Rosa spun toward the house, her voice sharp and frantic. "Senora Clarissa, the door is locked. Bring the keys, now." Clarissa appeared in the doorway, her expression pinched with irritation rather than alarm. "For heaven's sake, Rosa, don't make such a scene. She's just sleeping. Children do that, you know." "Sleeping." Rosa's voice cracked. She pointed a trembling finger at the glass. "She is not sleeping, she is suffocating. Keys, rapido, or I break the window." Clarissa's composure faltered for a second. Her eyes darted nervously toward the car before settling back on Rosa. "You wouldn't dare. That's a brand new vehicle. Martin will be furious if you smash it. Let me get the keys." But Rosa could already feel precious seconds slipping away. Her instincts screamed at her, Waiting meant danger. Without another thought, she grabbed the heavy garden stone that lined the driveway path. With one swift, desperate motion, she slammed it against the glass. The sound shattered the still air, an explosion of cracks and shards falling like deadly rain. Clarissa gasped, covering her mouth. Are you insane? Ignoring her, Rosa yanked open the door and pulled Lily into her arms. The child's skin was burning hot, her small body limp against Rosa's chest. Dios mío, Rosa whispered, tears springing to her eyes. Hold on, Angelita, please hold on. She rushed toward the house, shouting, water. Towels. She laid Lily gently on the cool marble floor of the foyer and ran to the kitchen sink, soaking a cloth in cold water. Her hands shook as she pressed it against the girl's face, fanning her with another towel. Stay with me, Nina, stay with me, Rosa. Pleaded, her voice breaking. She dipped another cloth, laying it against Lily's tiny wrists. Clarissa hovered behind her, pacing, her voice sharp with panic but not for the child. Martin will be home any minute. He cannot see this, Rosa. Do you hear me? If he finds out, he'll blame me. We have to make it look like nothing happened. Rosa whirled on her, eyes blazing with fury. Nothing happened. She almost died in that oven you left her in. You care more for your reputation than this innocent life. Clarissa flinched, her composure cracking. You don't understand. Martin would never forgive me. Please, just, fix her. Don't say anything. Fix her. Rosa spat the words like poison. This is not a broken dress or a spilled drink. This is a child, his daughter. If she doesn't wake, her voice broke. She pressed her ear close to Lily's lips, relief flooding her when she felt the faint, shallow breaths. She snatched the phone from the counter and dialed emergency services. This is Rosa Alvarez, she said quickly, her accent thickening in her distress. A child, 6 years old, heatstroke, unconscious but breathing. Please, rapido, send someone now. Clarissa rushed forward, trying to grab the phone. No, don't call. You'll ruin everything. Rosa shoved her back with a force she didn't know she had. If Martin doesn't ruin you, Dios will. You do not deserve her trust, or his. Minutes stretched like hours as Rosa continued to cool Lily down, whispering soft prayers in Spanish, rocking her gently. At last, Lily stirred faintly, her lashes fluttering open just a sliver. A weak sound escaped her lips. Rosa. Tears streamed down the maid's face. Yes, mi amor, I am here. You are safe now. The shrill wail of sirens grew louder outside. Clarissa froze, her face draining of color as the red lights reflected against the mansion's windows. When the paramedics burst through the door, Rosa didn't hesitate. She stepped aside, allowing them to lift Lily onto a stretcher. Clarissa clutched the edge of a chair, her perfect facade unraveling as she realized the consequences of what had just unfolded were unavoidable. And as Rosa stood in the doorway, watching the medics carry Lily into the waiting ambulance, she knew that when Martin returned home, there would be no way to shield Clarissa from the truth. Martin's car pulled into the driveway just as the ambulance was pulling out. He frowned, confusion etched into his face as the flashing lights painted the mansion in red and white. Without even shutting his door, he sprinted forward, his tie askew, his polished shoes striking the pavement in frantic beats. Lily. His voice cracked with fear. He reached the paramedics, his hands trembling as he tried to peer into the back of the ambulance. That's my daughter, please, tell me what happened. She's stable but overheated, one medic assured him as they shut the doors. We're taking her to St. Andrews. You can follow us. Martin's chest heaved with shallow breaths, his mind spinning. Stable, overheated, the words burned into his skull. He turned back toward the house and saw Rosa standing in the doorway, her apron streaked with water, her face pale but resolute. Behind her, Clarissa lingered, wringing her hands, her once glossy confidence stripped away. Martin stormed inside, his voice a thunderclap. What happened to my daughter? Clarissa stepped forward quickly, her words tumbling out in rehearsed tones. Martin, darling, please don't be upset. Lily must have gotten too much sun after school. She fell asleep in the car, and Rosa overreacted. She smashed the window, called an ambulance, made it all so dramatic. Honestly, she frightened the child more than anything. Rosa's fists clenched at her sides, but she forced herself to speak evenly. Senor, with respect, that is not true. I found Lily unconscious in the car. Locked in, sweating, barely breathing. Another few minutes and her voice wavered, but her eyes did not. She could have died. Martin's face darkened. He turned sharply toward Clarissa. Is this true? You left her in the car. Clarissa's lips quivered, her mask slipping. It was only for a little while. I was meeting Vanessa and the girls for lunch. I didn't think, it was shaded, and she was sleeping. Martin's hand slammed against the marble table, making both women jump. You didn't think. You left a 6-year-old child trapped in a car in this heat. Are you out of your mind? His voice boomed through the hall, rage and disbelief twined together. Clarissa tried to reach for him, her manicured hand trembling. Martin, please, you have to understand. I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to. He cut her off, his eyes blazing. You nearly killed her, and then you tried to cover it up, to twist it onto Rosa. My God, Clarissa, do you even care about anyone but yourself? Her tears finally fell, streaking her makeup, but Martin's expression was stone. Rosa stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. Senor, I am sorry for the broken glass, but I would break 1,000 windows to save her. I could not stand by while she suffered. Martin's eyes flicked to Rosa, and something inside him cracked. Gratitude, trust, shame for not seeing sooner what this woman had seen all along. He nodded once, his jaw tight. You did the right thing. You're the only one who did. Clarissa's sobs grew louder. Martin, you can't mean this. You can't just throw me aside because of one mistake. One mistake. His voice dripped venom. Leaving my daughter to die is not a mistake, it's negligence. It's cruelty. And it ends here. He turned his back on her, his decision final in the rigid set of his shoulders. Pack your things. I want you out by tonight. Her mouth opened, then closed, the fight draining out of her as she realized nothing could repair the damage. She stumbled upstairs, the click of her heels hollow against the silence. When the house was quiet again, Martin turned to Rosa. The anger melted from his face, replaced with a weariness that went bone deep. Rosa, I don't know how to thank you. You saved her. You saved my little girl. His voice broke, and for the first time in years, he reached out, pulling the maid into a brief, trembling embrace. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. I only did what any heart would do, Senor. Lily is precious. She deserves all the love this house can give her. Martin pulled back, his eyes shining. From now on, she will have it. And I'll make sure she has you by her side. Not as a servant, but as family. For the first time that day, Rosa smiled, her lined face softening with relief. Upstairs, the faint sounds of luggage being dragged across the floor signaled the end of Clarissa's reign. And as the ambulance sirens faded into the distance, a quiet promise filled the mansion: Lily would never be neglected again.